from the betting capital of the world, giving raw and real breakdowns of mixed martial arts and recapping UFC events like no one else, with producer Martin on the ones and twos and combat sports betting expert Effie. You're listening to Any Action Sportscast. Any Action Sportscast. So put your headphones on and let's take this podcast to the next level.
What is up, guys? We are back for the most stacked card of 2022, UFC 280. My name is Effie with Any Action Sportscast, and we're going to go over every single fight on this card today in this video. I'm super excited to talk about the fight card, man. That main event is one of the best fights we've seen in a while. Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev. Co-main event, we have Aljamain Sterling versus the CEO of EPO. And then we have Petr versus Sean O'Malley, a fight that I never thought was ever going to happen. Belal Muhammad on Brady is a banger. I mean, guys, this card is just stacked throughout the entirety, early prelims, and obviously the main card. So without talking anymore, let's get right into it. The first fight at UFC 280 is going to be in the women's bantamweight division between Lina, the Elbow Queen Länsberg, and Karol Rosa. The Elbow Queen comes in at 40 years old, has a 10-6 record, and is currently a plus 200 underdog. Meanwhile, Karol Rosa, the 27-year-old, comes in with a 15-4 record, and she's currently the favorite at minus 250. Now, I'm not going to be betting on this fight. The pick is Karol Rosa, and I'll be honest, guys, it comes down to me not being impressed at all whatsoever with Lina Länsberg. Neither girl has really any takedown defense, and if either girl gets put on the mat, they're abysmal on their back. But I just think that Länsberg is a little worse on the ground, and I think that Karol Rosa has shown an ability to take her fights to the ground if she does need to. It's funny, man, though. Lina Länsberg is 40 years old. There's a 13-year age gap in this fight. But it's not like Karol Rosa, you just see 40 years old and you're like, oh, she's going to win. She just lost to Sarah McMahon. Sarah McMahon was 41 years old in that fight. And I get it. Sarah McMahon also beat Länsberg, and Sarah McMahon's an Olympic-level wrestler, so it's a little bit of an outlier there. But don't go into this fight thinking, oh, Karol Rosa's fighting a 40-year-old fighter. She's going to win for sure. She's a lock. I don't think so. I also don't think that the fight goes to the decision is a lock either, because I think that Länsberg can definitely gas out in this fight, and so can Rosa. I think that if Rosa gets mount on Länsberg, she can end it with ground and pound. So as far as the fight, if it were to stay on the feet, I think it's a pretty 50-50 fight. Probably lean Rosa. The Muay Thai of Länsberg is dirty. They call her the Elbow Queen for a reason. Inside the clinch, she's really nasty with those kicks and those elbows, or knees. And yeah, so not too confident in fight goes the distance or the over 2.5 rounds. I know those are priced under minus 300 and they might feel like parlay pieces, but due to the fact that both these girls have no ground game and that they might gas out, I could see this ending in the third round. But to be safe, my pick for this fight is going to be Karol Rosa via decision. Up next, we have a flyweight fight between Muhammad Mokaev and Malcolm Gordon. The blue chip undefeated 22-year-old prospect Mokaev comes in with a perfect record of 7-0, and he currently sits as the biggest favorite on the card at minus 700. Malcolm Gordon, the 32-year-old, comes in with a 14-5 record and is currently sitting the biggest underdog on the card at plus 500. Now, you guys know how I feel when I see those lines in MMA. It's just absurd. Anything could happen in a fight. Anyone could slip on a banana peel and tear their Achilles or snap their shin or whatever. So if you're going to parlay Mokaev, you got to look at the method of victory here. How is he going to win? Well, he's 2-0 in the UFC, and to see him this big of a favorite in his third UFC fight is pretty insane, guys. Malcolm Gordon, granted, isn't the best. He's probably, arguably, one of the least durable fighters on all of the roster. And so, for that reason, I do believe that Mokaev can find the finish here, and I actually think that he's going to submit him in the second round. We saw Charles Johnson be able to withstand Mokaev's takedowns over and over again and not get submitted, but I usually view him as a high-level fighter. He was an LFA champion, and it was a good test for Mokaev in just his second fight after bodying Cody Durden. And he also has a ton of amateur experience. I know you see his record at 7-0, and you would think that he's not, very experienced, but he's actually have a ton of amateur fights. And one more thing, well, first of all, I don't think Malcolm Gordon is that good. It's kind of a fade on Malcolm Gordon. I would fade Malcolm Gordon with a ton of fighters on the UFC roster. But one little anecdote I'd like to mention is one of the more interesting and I guess you can say coaches that I respect in the game of MMA. His name is Frank Hickman. He ran the Tiger Muay Thai Wrestling for a while, and he's been just kind of bouncing around. He's a wrestling coach. And he spoke about Mokaev so highly. This guy has coached Petr Yan, Rafael Fiziev, Israel Adesanya, Brad Riddell, Dan Hooker. He's coached a lot of guys. Loma Lukbumi, Yan Janan. he's coached a bunch of savages, and he says that Mokaev is one of the best blue chip fighters he has seen, and to expect this guy to be champion here real soon. So I'm gonna go with him. I'm gonna go with his word. But if I didn't hear that, and if I were just going off of the tape, Mokaev is probably gonna get this guy, and submit and take his back. Like I said earlier, Gordon is one of the most least durable fighters on the roster, and I'm just not gonna get in front of this, prospect in Mokaev. So give me Mokaev inside the distance. I'm sure that's probably like minus 350. But for the pick for the show, I'm going to go with a second round Mokaev submission. Now, this is where the card starts to take off. This is going to be a straight banger in the middleweight division. We have Armen Petrosyan versus AJ Dobson. Now, the 31-year-old Petrosyan comes in at 6-2, and he's currently the favorite at minus 220. AJ Dobson, the 30-year-old, comes in at 6-1, and he's currently the underdog at plus 180. Now, funny thing about Armen Petrosyan's 6-2 record there, he actually had a fake win on his record. He was 7-1 before his Caio Borralho fight, and just recently Sherdog found that he had a fake win, I think it was 13 or like 17-second first-round knockout. And that really shocked me because I thought this kid was legit. I mean, I still do, but I thought that was really surprising. That to me shows a little bit of like shadiness, I guess you could say, but that was weird. I don't know about red flag, but yeah, I just thought I'd mention that before we talk about this fight. Both these guys are super dangerous strikers. This is a fight between two strikers. AJ Dobson lost his last fight against Jacob Malkoun, who's, in my opinion, a really good wrestler. And we just saw him fight last week. So yeah, I don't think that's going to be happening here with Armen. I don't think Armen's going to be out there shooting double legs, single legs, trying to get him down. I think that Dobson is a dangerous, powerful striker in his own right, but I think that Armen's a little more polished. I think that he's a little more technical. I love his body kicks. I love his kicking in general, and he showed his durability in that Gregory Rodriguez fight. He did get the win, guys, but he could be on a 2-fight losing streak here, coming into minus 220 in a fight that should be a 50-50 striking fight with both guys having knockout power. It's a little much to be betting on Petrosyan, in my opinion. I do think he's a good guy, like a good fighter, but like I said, at that price, it's a little wide. I wouldn't be surprised if money comes in on Dobson and that line gets down. But as far as the fight, how it's going to go, I believe that Armen's going to win the fight because I think that he's just going to be able to be the cleaner technical striker, quicker striker, and avoid AJ Dobson's power. I don't think this is going to be the first time he's ever fought a guy with power, and he's going to be smart in there, and I think I'm going to pick him for the win. So yeah, no money on this fight, no action on this fight. We do not have any action on this fight. Tough fight to call, though. Like I said, a lot of these fights on this card are going to be bangers, and this is one of them. So I guess you could say best bet or whatever. Under 2.5, fight doesn't go because someone's probably going to get knocked out. But the pick is Armen Petrosyan via knockout. Up next, we have a welterweight fight between Abubakar Nurmagomedov and Gadzhi Omargadzhiev. Abubakar, the 32-year-old, comes in with a 16-3-1 record, and he's currently sitting the favorite at minus 180. Gadzhi, the 29-year-old, comes in with a 13-1 record, and he's currently the plus 150 underdog. Now, this is my first underdog pick of the week, and it's our first bet of the night. We have a 0.75 unit bet on Gadzhi Omargadzhiev. Now, you're probably looking at me and be like, Effie, how could you pick against Khabib's cousin, Abubakar? Well, I just think that he's the worst one out of that camp. I just don't think he's that good, and he hasn't impressed me. He's super inactive, and he does nothing like excellent. He has no part of his game is just so dominant that it makes me think that he's going to be able to take a fight in that realm. He struggled to get Gooden down. Well, he didn't really get him down to the third round, but I will say he did surprise me in that fight with the amount of jabs he was able to land. I figured Gooden would be able to avoid that. I don't think Abubakar's striking is that good. I actually view Abubakar as striking super one-dimensional and repetitive, whereas Gadzhi, he's more of like a wild man and has power in his shots. He goes to finish with his punches, which is why a little bit this isn't a one-unit shot. I am somewhat worried of his gas tank, Gadzhi that is. I mean, he's coming off losing to Caio Borralho, but if you watch that fight, he looked like a little child compared to him. Caio had him outsized by a lot. He just dominated Gadzhi. He wrecked him. Like, that was a really, really dominant fight by Caio. Yeah, but Gadzhi was super undersized. So not for nothing, this is at 170, and that Caio fight was at 185. He's been fighting at 185. He's been pretty like doughy and like a little bit small compared to his opponents. And so I'm super excited to see how he's going to be at 170. And so if he has a good weight cut, I figure at plus 150 is worth a shot. I'm just telling you guys, I am not that impressed by Abubakar. I've been waiting to fade this guy, and I'm going to do it here with Gadzhi Omargadzhiev. So give me Gadzhi to win this fight via decision, not submission or knockout, But give me a decision, even though the crowd will be going crazy for Abubakar. 100% will be on this side. And I think Coach Khabib starts the night 0-1. Up next, we have a featherweight fight between Zubaira Tukhugov and Lucas Almeida. Zubaira comes in at 31 years old with a 25-1 record, and he's currently the favorite at -155. Lucas Almeida also is 31 years old with a 14-1 record, currently the +135 underdog. Now, this is an exciting fight and a really hard fight to pick, in my opinion, because on one hand, we had a fighter who I thought had a bit of a gas tank issue in Zubaira, a really good striker, really good wrestler, but he actually really impressed me in his last fight against Ricardo Ramos, especially in that third round. To me, it was like a sign of like, okay, here's a guy where he seems to have, at least for that last fight, seemed to fix a little bit of a problem in his like skill set. He seems to fade in that third round. He could look great in that first and second round. He has that wrestling in his back pocket, so if it does become a stand-up fight where he doesn't like how the fight's going, he can shoot takedowns. But he did struggle against Leroy Murphy and Hakeem Dawodu, two fighters that were able to just push him and keep him on the back foot the whole time. I believe that he's also fought the better fighters in his career. But Lucas Almeida, man, he's a killer. It's hard not to like him. It's hard not to bet on him either, on this, especially with the dog price here, because he has a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's not going to be out of his realm on the ground. I trust him on the ground here. Zubaira doesn't really seem to go for submissions on the ground, more of a position over submission type fighter, especially when it hits the mat. Whereas Lucas can throw up submissions, can throw up chokes, obviously finished a lot of fights. But he also has really powerful striking. He's kind of a wild man in my opinion, but so is Zuba. Zuba can get wild in his striking too. So I'm interested to see who's going to be the more technical striker, who can keep, you know, the pace for 3 rounds. And with the way the last fight went, I got to go with Zubaira. I really wanted to pick Lucas going into the tape study, but I just was, you know, I think that Zuba is going to be able to win the minutes toward the end of the rounds with his clinch work and his wrestling. I think that could be 50-50 for 3 minutes of every round. And in that last, like, 2 minutes, 1 minute of the rounds, maybe he could steal a round and get the Abu Dhabi fans and judges to go his side. So, close fight. I don't see myself betting on this fight. Or even if the fight goes a distance, because let's say Zuba is doing really good in that first, second round. I mean, Lucas is going to have a size advantage. He's going to be taller by 3 inches, longer by, I believe, 4 inches, 4 or 5. And I don't know how Zuba's going to deal with that. We obviously saw him struggle with pressure strikers like Leroy Murphy and Hakeem Dawodu, so it's going to be interesting. I think he's going to have to use his wrestling. Obviously, someone as good as Lucas on the ground might be getting interesting here. Like, there's a reason why he's not a bigger favorite. Dagestani guy at -155. I think the books know the danger that Lucas brings. So with my pick, I am going to pick Zubaira, but I'm not that confident in it. I'm going to go with the decision. Up next, we have a light heavyweight fight between Volkan Oezdemir and Nikita Krylov. Oezdemir comes in at 33 years old with an 18-6 record, currently sitting at +145. On the other side, we have Nikita Krylov, the 30-year-old with a 28-9 record, currently sitting at -175. I actually think that Volkan is a live dog here. I'm not going to bet him, but I am going to pick him in this fight. I think that he's very durable, and the way Nikita fights, the way he wins, he tends to finish guys. I know, you know, he came off just bodying the ghost of Alexander Gustafsson in a fight that we are actually on Nikita. We're actually on both these guys in their last fight, which was actually on the same card. Only one fight separated both their performances. I believe Volkan went first and, you know, got a decision win over Paul Craig. Paul Craig wasn't able to submit him. Oezdemir's never been submitted. And then Hannah Goldie got absolutely brutalized by Molly McCann. And then Nikita Krylov came out and bodied Alexander Gustafsson. We ended up hitting on both those guys that night, so it sucks to see them go head-to-head here. But I do think that I like Volkan more, guys. I just see that on the stand-up, it's going to be 50-50. Probably Nikita, honestly, with the edge there. It's probably going to be the quicker fighter. As far as the power, I don't know, man. I can see both guys getting dropped here. It sucks because Nikita Krylov has 37 professional fights. I believe only 3 of them or 4 of them haven't finished. That's around 91-92% finish rate. Whereas Volkan's never been submitted and only been knocked out twice. 18-6 with 2 losses out of finish, so 4 of his losses aren't, you know, the decisions. I hate to be like the MMA math guy, but like it's just unlikely that to me that he gets finished by Nikita Krylov. If he does, hats off to the kid. But I'm going with Volkan Oezdemir to be able to withstand and win a decision here. You know, he did knock out Latifi, which, let's be honest, that's not really saying much. Latifi's not a very good fighter. And, you know, he got finished by Jiri. He's a current champion. And, you know, they both lost to Makhmud and Kalaev. It got worked. Nothing to say about that. That guy's going to be a champion too, probably. I don't know, man. It's a pretty 50-50 fight. I don't want to bet on the fight. Don't want to risk my money on this fight. But I'm going to go on pick Volkan Oezdemir via decision. Next, we have a middleweight fight between Makhmud Muradov and Caio Borralho. Muradov comes in 32 years old with a 25-7 record, currently the plus 180 underdog. Caio Borralho comes in 29 years old with a 12-1 record, currently sitting minus 220. Now I'm going with Caio Borralho, but really quick, I don't know if you guys saw right there on that Tapology screen, they have him listed as 5'10", and he's definitely not 5'10". He's at least 6 foot. When he fought Armen Petrosyan, there was probably a 1-inch height difference, and Petrosyan's listed at 6'1". So I thought that was a little bit interesting. But anyway, Makhmud Muradov, on the other hand, you know, super inactive fighter, and he's one of those guys like Musayev earlier in the card where, yes, I believe in his skill set. Yes, I believe he's a good fighter. Just a well-rounded mixed martial artist, but he's just super inactive. You know, I hate betting on guys or picking guys that just aren't fighting. They take long breaks in between their fights, whether it be COVID or whatever. Injuries, pulling out, opponents pulling out. This guy was supposed to fight Nurmagomedov, and that would have been a sick fight. Talking about Muradov here. So, you know, he's almost like, I like him. I do like him. I think he's a good fighter. He's really good striking, pretty good grappling. Caio Borralho, on the other hand, I just feel like he's going to be safe everywhere in this fight. Unless he gasses himself out, which I don't expect to happen, I feel like he's going to be safe on the ground. You know, obviously trained protege of Damian Maia, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu legend. And on the feet, you know, he did get clipped a little bit in that Armen Petrosyan fight, but still, I just think that he's going to be smart enough to get this fight down or avoid positions where it's going to be vulnerable. He's a pretty good prospect. That line is a little bit wide, minus 220. You would like to see it more around minus 200. But I just think that he's going to win this fight. I'm going to keep it short. I think that he's going to be able to either submit Muradov or just win a decision here. Probably able to win a decision because Muradov's pretty durable. I mean, he does have a submission loss. We just came off losing to Jared Mershart, which, I mean, come on. GM3 is submitting everybody, or most of the guys. He's like a Paul Craig type guy. Submission or bust. That was surprising, I will say. I don't think the UFC expected him to lose that fight, but hadn't fought in over a year since then. So I'm going with the young prospect, the active guy. Give me Caio Borralho to win via decision. Up next, we have a super interesting welterweight fight between Belal Muhammad and Sean Brady. Belal, remember the name Muhammad, comes in 34 years old with a 21-3 record, and he's currently sitting as a plus 115 underdog. Sean Brady, the 29-year-old undefeated prospect, comes in at 15-0, and he's currently a minus 140 favorite. Now, I've been super impressed by both these guys. I actually doubted the Belal Muhammad in his last fight. I did pick Luque, and, you know, he came out and did his job, man. The kid's been impressive. It sucks that he got that eye poke against Leon Edwards, because that would have catapulted him to the title shot, you know, contention. And he's 35 years old, and he can't afford to lose this fight at this point in his career. On the other hand, we have 29-year-old Brady, who, in my opinion, is nothing but impressed the whole time. It was a bad look that he did get outstruck against Makhachev. You know, you never want to see that. But I guess he was fighting with a broken nose the whole time in his career, and has since then gotten nose surgery and hopefully aims to fix that. As far as the grappling, both these guys are elite grapplers, right? We saw Belal Muhammad defend takedowns well against Damian Maia and just chain takedowns, and he was able to defend the whole fight. 20 plus takedowns, I believe it was. And it's funny to me because that Damian Maia, he's ancient. He's really, really old. I get it. He's an OG, a vet, and he's an expert, a master. But Sean Brady is a little bit built different. His cardio is amazing. He's going to be pushing the pace for 3 rounds here. And oftentimes, in a fight where there's 2 grapplers, it often turns into a 15-minute striking fight. And if that were to happen, I actually do lean, have a hot take, that Belal Muhammad has a little bit better striking than Sean Brady. I like his body kicks, his front kicks, and he seems to be advancing in that area every single fight. So I'm not going to doubt Belal Muhammad again. I'm going to pick Belal Muhammad, but I really do respect Sean Brady's, you know, grappling, man. I'm interested to see how this fight's going to play out in those exchanges. Sean Brady has a grappling match win over Craig Jones, ADC, you know, silver medalist Craig Jones, but he wasn't allowed to use heel hooks. Craig Jones was, and so that's kind of like his signature move. So I thought that was a little bit cheap. So the pick will be Belal Muhammad via decision. But I'm actually going to try and bet that. I don't have access to that prop right now, but once my book drops, I'm going to be taking a half-unit shot on that. And kicking off the UFC 280 pay-per-view, we have a women's flyweight fight between Katlyn Chookagian and Manon Fiorot. Chookagian comes in 33 years old, the 18-4 record, sitting at plus 160. Manon Fiorot comes in at 32 years old, the 9-1 record, currently the minus 200 favorite. Now, I actually have a pretty strong opinion on this women's MMA fight. I think Manon Fiorot is going to win a 30-27 decision over Katlyn or finish this girl. Now, I like Caitlin. I bet on her multiple times. She's a decision machine. Her decision prop is just one of the most like likelihood things to happen. If she wins, her path to victory is decision. She couldn't finish the cheeseburger. Okay. Now, against Amanda Ribas, though, we got lucky, boys. Like, we got lucky. I thought that she lost that fight. Ribas was going up in weight, had a torn or like a messed up knee, and still judo tossed Caitlin Chikagian multiple times. Still took her down. And Frio has gotten multiple of our UFC opponents down, but really, she's a really good striker. She's a legit striker, powerful hands. She knocked out Tabitha Ricci, which I think is a really good win on your resume. But it's actually funny. If you want to play MMA math, they both fought Jennifer Maia. And this, to me, is where I'm taking a little bit of a leap. I think that, or I thought that Manon Frio was going to look way better in the Jennifer Maia fight than she did. I expected her to kind of run through her in that fight, and she did face some resistance in that fight. Whereas Caitlin, in my opinion, fought Jennifer Maia way better than Manon did. Now, that really means nothing because they're fighting each other in this fight. Two strikers, where, in my opinion, I believe that Manon has the grappling advantage. We just saw Caitlin get out-grappled by a smaller fighter, a fighter that was hurt, had a compromised knee. And I just don't think that Manon's going to be able to get push kicked to death here. Caitlin loves using her push kick, loves, yelling, like, doing the things where she's yelling the hi-ya. And I just think that Manon's going to be able to cleaner striker, crisper striker, be able to get in and out. And if it does get in the clinch, she's going to be able to work Caitlin, I believe. Caitlin is taller by 2 inches, has a little bit of a size advantage, 2-inch height advantage, 2-inch reach advantage. I'm super confident in Manon Frio, and hopefully we can get a good price on her and parlay her, honestly. So for the pick, it's going to be Manon Frio via 3rd round finish. Up next, we have a banger of a fight in the lightweight division between Beneil Dariush and Mateusz Gamrot. Dariush comes in 33 years old, 21-4-1, and is currently a plus 165 underdog. Mateusz Gamrot, on the other hand, 31 years old, 21-1, and is sitting a minus 195 favorite. Where do I start with this fight? Let's start with Gamrot. From Poland, kid's a beast. Only loss is a questionable loss to Guram Kutuladzé, where I did think that he edged out the fight, but even Guram Kutuladzé is a great fighter, not a bad loss. I will say, I thought he lost to Armen Tsarukyan. Now, I was watching through, green colored glasses, because I did have a bet on Tsarukyan, and I had a bet on him to win via decision. It sucked, but I did think that he won. And let's be honest, Gamrot got dropped by that spinning back fist. And other than that, he was able to pretty much out-grapple Armen. We haven't seen that happen to Armen since Makhachev did it to him in his debut. So, right off the bat, guys, Gamrot is a legit grappler. This guy is a motor. He's not going to stop. He reminds me of Merab Dvalishvili. He struggled to get Diego Ferreira down and hold him down. But he ended up finishing that fight with that weird, I think, knee to the ribs that knocked him out along the cage. He ended up verbally tapping out. But the guy's a beast, man. If he doesn't get it down, he's going to keep going. And that's where I bring in Beneil Dariush. Beneil Dariush on a winning streak. He's fought high-level guys. Don't get me twisted. His resume, his streak that he's on should not be something that we're going to critique here. Although I will say he was losing a couple of those fights where he came back to get a comeback knockouts, pretty sick ones at that. And, that's respect. Super durable. I will say this, though. He's been taken down 0 times in the last 5 years. He hasn't been taken down in 5 years. He also hasn't fought someone like Gamrot in 5 years. He hasn't fought a guy that's going to go out there and just be relentless with the takedowns over and over and over and over again. He does have a good takedown defense. The guy's hard to take down. I believe it's in the 80% percentile. Striking-wise, I actually think Beneil is a better... Well, I shouldn't say better. He has less volume, but he's going to be pushing forward. He's not afraid to push forward. He's pretty good off the back foot. Pretty good long strikes with that left hand. He's southpaw. And I do think that he's going to have a power advantage. I do expect that if anyone gets dropped, it's probably Mateusz. But big red flag, he was supposed to fight Islam Makhachev, but then he got knee surgery in the offseason. Ankle surgery. He broke his ankle. And so I don't really know, at 33 years old, fighting at 155, coming off ankle surgery, finding a guy that's going to push you and push you and push you, I don't know how he's going to look. I will say, though, if Gamrot steals and banks the first 2 rounds, not steals, but let's say he goes out there and looks good in the first 2 rounds, will he gas out? Will he look for the fade in the third? And I say no. I say we just saw him fight Tsarukyan, and he sort of just answered that question to us. So I have all the confidence in the world in Gamrot here. I believe that he's a prospect on the rise, and he's going to be a contender here for a while. Nothing against Beneil Dariush, but I just think that he's a different level than Gamrot. I will say this, though. He only is 3 years older than Gamrot, but he has like white hair on his head, and it's just a tough look when you're watching tape and he's fighting Tony Ferguson. They both look super, super ancient. But yeah, give me Gamrot. It's a new wave at 155, and I think he's going to be able to win via decision. And here we go. The last 3 fights on this card are absolutely bonkers, and they're going to get kicked off with Petr No Mercy Yan taking on Sugar Show Sean O'Malley. Petr Yan comes in 29 years old, 16-3, as a huge -310 favorite. Sugar Sean O'Malley, the 5'11 bantamweight, comes in with a 15-1 record, and he currently sits the biggest underdog he's ever been at +255. Man, I'll never forget where I was when I found out that they booked this fight. I was in the airport, my phone goes off, and I see the update, and I go, no way. Like, wow, they really booked this? Like, holy crap. But like Sean has actually said multiple times in the build-up to this fight, after his fight with Munoz, there was really no other ranked bantamweights with fights, available fights, you know, open schedules, other than Petr Yan. Petr Yan, in my opinion, is one of the best fighters on the roster. I mean, guys, this is such a huge level, step up in competition for Sean O'Malley. If we look at the best fighters he's fought, Chito Vera, Pedro Munoz. He lost to Chito Vera, and in Pedro Munoz, it was a pretty 50-50 round, that first round. Everyone wants to talk about the leg kicks, obviously, with Sean O'Malley when he fights, but I want to talk about his durability. He was fighting Chris Moutinho, wasn't able to get him out there, and if you're out there thinking he has a puncher's chance against Petr Yan, which 100% he does, he has a puncher's chance against anyone. Yeah, like, you can't tell me that that doesn't make you feel bad. Like, Chris Moutinho was a zombie. Like, he got out and finished by Guido Canetti, the 50-year-old fighter Guido Canetti finished Moutinho, but Sean O'Malley couldn't. I mean, I don't want to use MMA math when you're looking at someone's resume, but that's not a good look. Not only that, but Sean O'Malley actually left the Chris Moutinho fight injured. So even when he's putting it on guys, he's getting hurt. I just have to question his durability when you're fighting someone like Petr Yan. Peter's 16-3, and in all 3 of his losses, well, I mean, obviously one was a disqualification with that knee in a fight that he was obviously dominating Aljo. And the other 2, they were the wrestlers, they were the grapplers, they were the guys that were able to take his back or just control him on the mat for multiple extended minutes in each round. Magomedov did it, and then obviously Aljo Sterling did it in his last fight. I remember thinking that the second fight against Aljo was going to be way closer than the first one because how dumb Aljo fought in that first one. His IQ was just out the window, throwing spinning kicks, spinning back fists with this as his cardio was already going down. And Petr Yan was just able to use those trips, able to just embarrass him really in that second fight before the knee. In that first fight before the knee. And in that most recent fight, it was a completely different story. In that first 2 minutes of that first round, which is a big thing in this fight because it's 3 rounds, Petr Yan didn't do anything. He just waited and waited and waited, and that let Aljo get ahead in that first round. I do believe that Aljo won that fight. I don't want to sit here and call robbery. And that is one thing we have to mention, guys. Petr Yan's a really slow starter, especially in that first round. And in a 3-round fight, I just don't know if he's going to be able to give up that first round for no reason. As soon as that round ends, you're down 1 round. You cannot lose any of the other rounds, obviously. So I expect Sean O'Malley to come out guns blazing, to take the center of the cage, to use his feints to have Petr Yan going on his back foot, make him uncomfortable. But likewise, flip on the other hand, I actually think that Petr Yan's going to utilize his wrestling. I think that's something he has in his back pocket where we haven't seen Sean O'Malley have to defend takedowns from a fighter that can get in close. It's going to be hard because Sean O'Malley is going to be pushing forward and he's going to be able to maintain distance because obviously he's so long. But you just don't think that he's going to be able to take damage well, man. Petr Yan fought a similar style fighter in Corey Sandhagen. In my opinion, just as good, if not better, than Sean O'Malley. I mean, let's be honest. And that was 5 rounds. In 3 rounds, that fight might have gone different. But he was able to pretty much do what he wanted to do against Corey Sandhagen. And that was really impressive, man. If you watch that fight and you go into this fight thinking, man, Sean's going to be having to be on his game the whole fight, the whole 15 minutes. And it's going to be tough, man. I just don't think that he's ever fought someone like Petr Yan. Well, on the other hand, like I just said, Petr Yan is coming off fighting someone exactly like Sean O'Malley. A tall, rangy fighter, good striker, smart fighter. And I don't know, man. I just can't go against Petr Yan. I parlayed him at -270. Now, I know we mentioned earlier he was -310, but one of my books, I feel like, was sleeping at the wheel because a ton of money came in on Sean, and he actually dropped all the way to -270. I actually parlayed him with someone else on the card, and we'll talk about later on the show who it is. But give me Petr Yan all day, man, whether it's decision or a finish, because as the fight gets extended, man, I think that he's going to be able to put Sean out. Sean's not very durable, and I feel like this is Petr Yan's fight to lose. As well as value on Sean O'Malley, I mean, take a puncher's chance if you want. Might as well go take him via this knockout. Hit the knockout prop on Sean O'Malley. But the pick is Petrosyan. The UFC bantamweight belt will be on the line in the co-main event when the CEO of EPO, TJ Dillashaw, takes on Top G, Aljamain Sterling. Now, TJ Dillashaw, 36 years old, comes in with a 17-4 record, and he's currently the underdog at plus 145. Aljamain Sterling, the champ, is 33 years old, coming in with a 21-3 record, and is currently the slight favorite at minus 170. I'm super excited for this fight, and I expect it to play out 5 rounds, go to decision, or if anything, I actually see Aljamain Sterling finishing this fight via submission. I get it. TJ Dillashaw is incredibly hard to take down. Probably the best, one of the best defensive grapplers in the division's history. It's even if you do get him down, it's hard to control him. I believe Dominic Cruz took him down 4 times, and every single time he got right back up. Other than that, there's really no evidence that he can lose minutes dragged out on the mat for extended periods of time. And that's exactly what Aljamain Sterling, in my opinion, is going to look to do. On the feet, I'm leading TJ Dillashaw. I know he's 36 years old, coming off a reconstructive knee surgery, and also coming off a fight where a lot of people thought he lost. I did think he lost the fight against Corey Sandhagen, but that's one thing I want to talk about. I was kind of thinking to myself, is TJ Dillashaw old and like frail, and like is his body failing him toward the end of his career now? Because think about it. He gets caught with steroids, the EPO, against Henry Cejudo, doesn't fight for 2 years, serves his suspension, like a man, and then comes back, immediately gets hurt in the first round against Corey Sandhagen, tears up his knee. But then, on the other hand, you can even use it to say he's super durable because he actually lasted the whole fight. I mean, Corey's a killer. To last 20 more minutes in that fight with one leg, essentially, I mean, how are you not durable? That's the definition of being durable. And on the other side, we have post-neck surgery Aljamain Sterling. After he got dominated in that first fight against Petrosyan, he went and got himself a neck surgery for an injury that was nagging him his whole career, like along his neck, his back. Now, it's pretty surprising to hear because if you watch the way he fights, he's a grappler-heavy fighter. He's a really good grappler, wants to get guys down and dominate them there. And to know that he had a neck surgery the whole time, or a neck issue, I should say, the whole time, it's pretty surprising. Now, you saw him at 100% against Petrosyan, and look what he did. He looked great. He looked like $1 million. This really comes down to, can Aljo get this fight in the clinch and get him down? Because in the stand-up, like I said, I expect TJ to win minutes. I expect him to be able to stay in range and keep his range the whole time. But at the same time, I don't trust him being 36 years old, almost 37 now at this point. One fight in the last, 3 years, and coming off reconstructive knee surgery. I'm just not going to be betting him or picking him. I'm going with the champ. Give me Aljamain Sterling via 5th round submission. And now it's time to talk about a fight that I think is an example of why we all love this sport. We have one of the more exciting, intriguing, and anticipated stylistic matchups that we've seen in a title fight in the UFC this year, when the lightweight vacant strap is going to be on the line when Islam Makhachev gets locked in a cage with Charles Do Bronx. Now, currently, Islam, the Dagestanian, comes in as a favorite at minus 180. He has a 22-1 record, and that's pretty surprising considering that the champion, Charles Do Bronx, comes in with the most UFC submissions ever, with a 33-8 record, and sitting as an underdog at plus 155. Now, let's talk about Islam. First of all, in the last 20 months, I think less than that, I think 17 months, he's accumulated 4 wins. He's just absolutely running through his opponents. This guy's hard to hit. He doesn't get hit. Even if he does get hit, it's rare. And he could just take the fight wherever he wants. His IQ is through the roof. This guy is just locked in from the beginning of the fight till the end. Since he got knocked out early on in his career, he's been pretty much dialed in every second of every round until now. He's on this crazy 10-fight winning streak. He did get dropped by Davi Ramos. A lot of his fights are under weird circumstances with guys pulling out, but you can't deny the kid. The kid is the truth. We all want to talk about obviously how he's Habib's homie and his best friend and stuff. It sucks because he's like living in his shadow the whole time. If you were to just look at him and his skill set and watch his fights and not know anything about Habib, you would just think, oh, this guy's just really suffocating, really dominant, and super clean, super technical, and super smart. On the other side, man, I'm surprised Charles Do Bronx's heart fits in his body. This guy is unreal. Dropped 3 times in his last 3 title fights, won every single fight. Misses weight, gets stripped of his belt, comes out, stuns Gadzhi in the first 10 seconds of the fight, ends up finishing him later on in the first round. Finished Poirier, finished Chandler, dominated Tony Ferguson, and if he didn't have such a flexible arm, he would have snapped his arm off too. Submitted Kevin Lee. This guy's just a pure finisher, man. Most submissions in UFC history, which is why this fight's so interesting to me. For one, Charles doesn't have very good takedown defense. Everyone knows this, but he knows this too. He doesn't care. He's super comfortable off his back. Why would the guy with the most submissions in UFC history be scared of getting taken down? He's not. He's 100% confident in working off his back, and his striking has come along really well. His kickboxing, his Muay Thai in the last, I'd say, 2 or 3 years has really advanced really quickly, in my opinion. Yes, his defense lacks. He is getting clipped and stuff in every one of these recent fights, but he's putting guys down. A lot of these guys are commenting about how hard he hits. They're pretty surprised. What really impressed me in that Dustin Poirier fight was his ability, his IQ to realize that the knees to the body were really having an effect on him. He loves his push kicks, his front kicks, and he's just such a very active fighter. He loves to take the center of the cage. And I was really impressed with how he did that against Chandler. Right when the fight starts, Chandler's a very explosive, dangerous striker, and he immediately takes the center, starts feinting his knees, start throwing that front kick out, and the guy's down to make a fight, a brawl. On the other hand, like I said, Islam, dude, this guy's just a pure force. He's dominating everybody. He's taking everyone down. No one can really resist him. And once he gets you down there, if you make one mistake, you're going to lose. You're going to get tapped out. We were all over him in that Bobby Green fight. We've been all over him in his recent fights. Drew Dober bet on him as well to get the finish. The guy's just a killer, man. I believe he's the truth. And let's be honest, Kevin Lee took down Charles Oliveira with a quickness in that first round. He took him down multiple times in the fight. He ended up surviving on his own. If someone like Kevin Lee doesn't get submitted by Charles Oliveira, I don't think Islam Makhachev will. Now, he also had a body triangle on Michael Chandler. Couldn't get the finish there. And, that gives me hope in Islam Makhachev. So for that reason, I'm picking Islam. Psych! We're going with Charles Do Bronx Oliveira, and still, he's going to be a 2-time champion. He shouldn't even been stripped. Guys, this isn't Bobby Green on 2 weeks' notice. This isn't Dan Hooker flying across the world on a month's notice. This isn't, Thiago Moses. This is Charles Oliveira. He's going to be safe everywhere. I really do think that he can spark Islam Makhachev in the first round of this fight, or later on through the fight. If he does get taken down, dominated along the cage, on the ground, on the mat, I think he could just extend the fight, man. I don't think it's even getting finished in that first round or early on. I do like the over 1.5 rounds at -155, and I'm deciding whether or not to play that because, like I just said, I can see Charles sparking Islam in that first round or really any moment of the fight. I will say this though, I respect Islam so much. I think that he is capable of taking down Charles and working him on the ground and eventually making Charles give up his back or just make a mistake in general. So it's not like I don't respect the guy. I really like him. And it sucks if he does lose. I hope a lot of people don't go out and use this as somehow go out there to trash Khabib's legacy. But I mean, you can't deny Charles Oliveira at that point if he does get by and finish Islam Makhachev. So I'm taking Charles Oliveira with a late second round submission win. No. Let's go knockout. Let's go late second round knockout. Charles Oliveira and new. Now it's time to go over our official bets so far for UFC 280. So far, we have 3 bets, and we're definitely going to lay a 4th once the line drops. So let's get right into it. Our first bet is going to be an underdog shot on Gadzhi Omargadzhiev, +150 money line against Abubakar Nurmagomedov. And like we talked about earlier, guys, I'm just not that impressed with Abubakar. I feel like this striking is going to be 50-50 in this fight. Maybe the volume on the behalf of Abubakar. But I really do think that the power coming back is going to be on Omar's side here, Omargadzhiev. Omargadzhiev in the grappling should be able to hold his own, and we've seen Abubakar submitted from top before. Give me this half-unit shot on the underdog that I think is live. After that, we have a 2.7 unit shot on Petr Yan -270. Now, I don't care if it's 5 rounds, 3 rounds, 420 rounds. I'm taking Petr Yan to beat Sean O'Malley at this price all day. I am shocked to see it get this low, and I had to play it. If it gets even lower, I might even add on. Speaking of Petr Yan, we actually have him in a parlay. We have Petr Yan -270 and Caio Borralho at -220. Now, Borralho is fighting a dangerous fighter in Muradov. Muradov is powerful on the feet. He's a legit grappler. But I just think that he's super inactive, and I just can't trust a fighter that's as inactive as he is. So give me Caio Borralho to continue his streak and use his grappling and maybe get a submission there in that fight. And the line that we are waiting for to drop is Belal Muhammad via decision. This is going to be a half-unit shot as we already have some exposure on just one fight in that Petrosyan fight. So I'm going to limit the amount of exposure I can have on the rest of the card. But I do think that he's liable to beat Sean Brady via decision. I don't think that he's going to knock out Brady or finish him on the ground or submit Sean Brady. I don't think that he's going to lose a fight in general. So I'm going with what his method of victory, in my opinion, is going to be, and that is via decision. So Belal Muhammad via decision is our 4th bet.